I never planned on buying a marina, but life has a way of pushing you into things you never thought you would own. After nearly 20 years working salvage runs on the Gulf, I'd saved enough to retire early, or at least semi-retire. The marina wasn't part of the plan at first. It was supposed to be a temporary investment, a quiet place to renovate boats and rent slips to weekend sailors. The previous owner, an old-timer named Daniels, sold it to me for a deal so good that even my accountant thought it was a typo. A small shack office, 22 slips, a private gated dock, and 2 acres of shoreline. Quiet, peaceful, isolated. Exactly what I wanted. At least that's how it looked the first week. The trouble started with a knock on my door. I'd barely moved in, hadn't even finished painting the office walls, when I heard rapid tapping like someone trying to drill their way through wood using their knuckles. I opened it, and there she stood, the woman I would soon know as Karen. But at that moment, she introduced herself as a president of the Harborview HOA. She didn't say hello, didn't smile, didn't even look at me really. She looked over my shoulder like she already owned the place. She had those oversized bug-eyed sunglasses HOA ladies seem to be born with, a bright salmon shirt that somehow managed to be both expensive and tacky, and a binder under her arm so thick it looked like she carried the Constitution inside it. "This marina," she said sharply, "is common access property for our neighborhood community." I blinked. "No, it isn't. It has always been treated as accessible," she insisted. "We've been using the dock for years. Our guests come through, we launch kayaks, we host summer parties." "That sounds like a you-all problem," I said. "Because this here is private. I just bought it. She gave a tight little laugh, the kind someone makes when they're used to getting their way. "You bought the land, sure. But the HOA has historical usage. That means it's shared. We consider it a community resource." A consider was doing a lot of heavy lifting in her sentence. I opened the file cabinet, where I'd put all the closing papers, and dropped the deed into her hands. She skimmed it, her eyes moving fast, and her jaw tightened. She handed it back like it was radioactive. "Well," she snapped, "we'll see about that." I didn't see her again that day, but that was the first warning shot. The next morning, when I walked down to check the docks, I found a group of strangers sitting on my benches, 4 of them, towels spread out, coolers open, flip-flops everywhere. Someone had even tied a giant inflatable flamingo to one of my cleats, music blaring. They looked like they'd set up for a full lake day hangout. "Can I help you?" I asked. A man turned around, popping open a beer. "We're good, bro." Karen said it's fine. Of course she did. I spent the next hour explaining, calmly at first, then less calmly, that this was private property. They argued, they stalled, they kept saying, "Karen told us," like she was Moses descending from the mountain with stone tablets. Eventually, I had to escort them out one by one. I wasn't rude, but I was firm. They left, muttering threats of calling the YJY board. I told them to go ahead. That night, I saw lights near my gate. A whole crowd of people gathered, talking loudly, pointing at their private property. No unauthorized access sign like it offended them personally. When they finally left, someone had stuck a sticky note on the sign. "This isn't legal. Fix it." I rolled my eyes and pulled it off. The real explosion, though, didn't come until the weekend. Saturday morning arrived with clear skies, calm water, and the faint smell of sunscreen drifting on the breeze. I had my coffee in hand and walked down to check the fuel pumps. And that's when I saw it, friend. The marina gate, wide open. Not as someone forgot to close it open. Not the wind must have pushed it open, but fully propped open using a dumbbell to keep it from swinging shut. A dumbbell. Who the hell brings a dumbbell to a marina? I followed the noise and found the dock swarming with people. Strangers, kids, guests, coolers, kayaks, beach chairs. They'd taken over everything. It looked like a festival. People were sitting on my rental boats like they were public benches. A group of teens were climbing the dry dock sea ray I was restoring. Someone had a grill lit, a freaking grill, and in the middle of all of it, the queen of chaos herself, Karen. She wore a huge floppy sun hat like she was ruling the Roman Senate on vacation. She caught sight of me and waved as if we were friends. "There he is," she shouted. "The marina man. Come join us." I stared at her. "Oh, what the hell are you doing?" She seemed offended by the question. "What does it look like?" "We're enjoying the community marina. It's been community property for years. It isn't community property. She clapped her hands loudly to get everyone's attention. We don't listen to him. We've always been allowed here. This is historical access. The HOA recognizes it as part of our neighborhood amenities. A lady, I said, I don't give a damn what the HOA recognizes. This isn't your land. One of her guests shouted, you should get a better attitude. Another added, maybe he's new. Give him time. Karen made a dramatic sigh, the kind teachers make when a student disappoints them. Look, she said, just leave us be. We'll clean up. You're being very rude right now. I took a deep breath and tried diplomacy, but it was like speaking to a wall that had a megaphone attached. Every point I made she countered with a dismissive flick of her hand or some made-up rule she seemed to invent on the fly. Finally, I said, everyone needs to leave. Now, the whole dock erupted in groans and complaints. Karen stepped forward, her voice rising. You can't kick us out, Faut. This is common property. The SEO has rights. You are violating community agreements. That's interesting, I said, because I bought this place from a man who owned it privately for 48 years. So tell me, when exactly did this become common property? She sputtered, then snapped. Don't get smart with me. I'm not getting smart, I said. I'm getting legal. That pushed her over the edge. Her face went crimson, her voice cracking, her hands shaking as she pointed wildly at the entire dock. You don't get to shut us out. You don't get to gate off community water. You don't own the lake and you don't own the access rights. This marina belongs to all of US. Gasps went through the crowd. Even her own guests looked awkward. I stepped toward her slowly. Really? Then why did I pay for it? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time, she actually looked unsure. That's when I did what I should have done on day one. I walked up to the marina gate and pulled the heavy steel door shut. The whole crowd watched in silence. Then, without breaking eye contact with Karen, I slid the boat lock through. Clang. The sound echoed across the water like a judge's gavel. Karen's jaw dropped. You can't do that. You can't look at dead in the eyes. Watch me. And before she could react, I pointed to the group behind her. You, all of you, off my dock. For a moment, nobody moved. Then I stepped forward, and the first guy packed his cooler. The second one grabbed his towels. The teens scrambled off the sea ray. The grill guy shut down his fire. One by one, they cleared out. Every step they took made Karen shake harder. She yelled, "Don't you dare leave!" But they ignored her. At the gate, I held it open just long enough for each person to exit, and then shut it behind them. Karen was the last one remaining. Her face was bright red, her voice high and shrill. "This isn't over. I will get the HOA to fix this. You are breaking community law. I'm not in your community," I said. Her mouth opened and closed like a malfunctioning puppet. When she finally stepped out, I shut the gate again and latched it. She screamed, actually screamed, "This is public. It's public property. I'll get everyone back in." I didn't answer. I just walked back to my office, leaving her yelling on the sidewalk like she was performing for an audience that had already gone home. I should have known that wasn't the end. It was just the opening shot. And HOA Karen was about to escalate in ways I didn't even know were possible. The morning after Karen's meltdown, I expected silence. Peace, maybe even a small break from the circus I'd apparently inherited along with the marina. Instead, I woke up to the sound of someone rattling the gate like they were trying to tear it off the hinges. I stepped outside with coffee in hand and found 3 HOA board members standing there. Clipboard warriors armed with pens, pastel polos, and the smug confidence of people who think HOA authority outranks state law. The guy in front, a tall man with a stiff posture and a personality that looked like it smelled of expired cologne, pointed at me like I was some trespasser on my own land. "Sir, we received a complaint from our community regarding unlawful restriction of common access property." I sipped my coffee. Let me guess, Karen? They shared a look that screamed he knows. One of the women began speaking in a rehearsed, dramatic HOA cadence. Under Harborview HOA regulations, this shoreline has been historically accessible for leisure, events, and communal recreation. You cannot install or enforce barriers that restrict neighborhood use. I leaned against the gate. Really? Because the deed says I can. The man tapped his clipboard. "We're here to conduct a compliance inspection." "Of what?" I asked. He hesitated. "We're property, and no, you don't have a choice." "We absolutely do," I said. "You're an HOA. I am not part of your HOA. You have zero jurisdiction here. The second woman puffed her chest. Sir Harborview HOA has indirect authority over all perimeter structures. Lady, I cut in, you don't even have direct authority over your own husbands. She gasped like I slapped her soul. The man stepped forward aggressively. If you block our access, we will fine you. Go ahead, I said. You send the bill. I'll frame it. They huddled together, whispering furiously. After a moment, they regrouped and the man spoke again. We're issuing a formal violation notice. He tried to hand me a pink slip of paper. I didn't take it. It fluttered to the ground. You'll be hearing from us, he snapped. I'm counting on it, I said, sipping my coffee. They marched away like angry ducks. I thought that was the end of the morning's entertainment. It wasn't. 3 hours later, I heard yelling again. This time it was teenagers, loud ones, and laughter, and splashing. I hurried down the dock and found 7 teenagers scaling the fuel pump like it was a jungle gym. 2 were jumping off the side of the dock into the water. Another 3 had dragged a kayak out of my rental stack and were climbing into it. Sweet froze like cats caught on a counter. What do you think you're doing? I asked. One of them shrugged. Karen said we can use it. You can use it. Of course she did. Karen had apparently become the self-appointed god of my marina. You want to know what Karen can use? I said. A trespass notice. What's that? One of the kids asked. A piece of paper that makes her cry, I replied. I forced them all off the dock one by one. Foot dock one by one. They weren't bad kids, just misled by the HOA queen. The real problem was that any time they saw the gate open, even a few inches, they rushed in like raccoons, finding a buffet. That evening, I reinforced the gate with a heavy-duty chain and a second lock. I went inside thinking maybe, just maybe, they'd finally get the message. But the next morning, the chain was cut. Clean. Precise. Like someone used bolt cutters. They didn't even try to hide it. The cut chain lay on the ground right in front of the gate like a calling card. Signature and the gate. Wide open, but this time it wasn't just teens or party guests. It was adults. Full-grown adults. HOA members setting up folding tables, coolers, speaker systems, and not just that. They had banners, actual banners. One stretched across 2 poles, Harborview Community Marina Summer Kickoff Party. Yeah, they weren't sneaking in anymore. They were declaring war. I walked over slowly. As soon as they saw me, they tensed. Karen stepped forward dramatically, wearing a neon sun hat and a bright smile that made my eye twitch. Good morning, she chirped. Since you refuse to recognize historical access, we've decided to host a community awareness event to remind you that residents have rights. This is my property, I reminded her. It was treated as community property for years, Karen said, emphasizing treated like it was sacred law. And you are disrupting decades of tradition. A man nearby added, we already told everyone this is the neighborhood marina. You can't just lock it up because you feel like it. I can and I will, I said. Karen crossed her arms. You won't ruin this event. Oh, you won't ruin this event. We all pay HOA dues that support the community's access to this shoreline. I raised a brow. Yeah? How much did you pay to me? She hesitated. And not the point. Another resident yelled, you can't kick us out. This is public water. Yes, I said. The water is public. The dock is not. Karen stomped her foot like a toddler denied candy. You're being aggressive. You cut my lock. We didn't cut anything, she said quickly. Too quickly, someone immediately whispered behind her. Karen, you said it was the only way. She spun on them. Shut up, Ted. I pinched my nose. Everyone needs to leave. I'm not asking again. Karen put her hands on her hips. We're not going anywhere. Then watch me remove your guess, I said calmly. You wouldn't dare. He stepped toward the first folding table, slowly, deliberately, and then I picked it up, cooler and all, and walked it right back to the gate. Everyone watched. They didn't speak, didn't breathe. I set it down outside the gate, walked back in, grabbed the second table, walked it out. Karen began shaking with fury. Stop touching our property. It's trespassing property, I corrected. Soon other HOA members scrambled to collect their things before I carried them out myself. I didn't yell, didn't rush. I just kept clearing the dock, item by item by item. The calmer I was, the angrier they got. At the end of the cleanup parade, Karen stood alone again, hands trembling, sun hat crooked from all her furious gesturing. You're making a huge mistake, she hissed. Oh, we're not done. Neither am I replied. Then I stepped outside, shut the gate, and added a third lock, industrial grade, industrial grade. Heavy enough to anchor a small boat. Karen slammed her fists on the metal bars. This is public, she screeched. Prove it, I said. She stormed off with her people like a defeated cult leader retreating to her lair. I thought maybe, just maybe she'd finally try talking like a normal human. Nope. The next day she escalated again. This time she brought backup, not HOA board members, not teens, not neighbors. She brought contractors. 3 pickup trucks pulled up early morning, loaded with ladders, drills, bags of cement, and lumber. As soon as they hopped out, one guy waved at me like this was a casual Tuesday. You the owner? He asked. Yeah, cool. We were hired by Harborview HOA to remove your gate. Said it was illegally installed. I stared. You're gonna remove my gate? That's the job? You got permits? He blinked. Oh, Karen said we didn't need any. Of course Karen said that. Well, I said, folding my arms, unless Karen is the county office, you're not touching a damn thing. He hesitated. We already got paid. What did she pay you? Half up front. Get the other half, I said, then leave. Because if you take down that gate, you'd be charged with destruction of private property. Another contractor chimed in nervously. Wait, this is private property? Yes. Like actually private? Yes. They all slowly turned toward the HOA sidewalk where Karen stood watching like a general commanding her troops. She marched over, face flushed. What are you waiting for? Take it down. Now, the lead contractor shook his head. Mom, this guy owns it. The HOA owns the shoreline. I held up the deed again. The contractor glanced at it, nodded, and stepped back. Yeah, no, he said. We're not touching that. Karen lost it. You can't just refuse. I gave you instructions. I paid you. You hired us for a job you don't have authority for, the contractor said. That's on you. They packed up their tools. Karen screamed. Actually screamed. The contractors drove away like they were escaping a disaster zone. Karen turned to me with wild eyes. This is illegal. You're illegal. Everything you're doing is illegal. Oh, good morning to you two, I said. She pointed a shaking finger at me. I'm calling the sheriff. Today? Great, I said. Tell him I said hi. She stormed away. I knew damn well she would call. And honestly, I hoped she did. He did. Because Karen was about to learn the one truth she had spent her entire life avoiding. HOA power ends at the property line, and my Marina wasn't inside her kingdom. Karen didn't waste a second. The moment she stormed off, she must have dialed 911 so aggressively that her phone probably begged for mercy. I stayed on the dock, sipping my coffee, waiting for the sheriff to arrive like it was the morning entertainment I didn't ask for, but fully deserved at this point. Paisa. But 20 minutes later, a sheriff's SUV rolled up. Sheriff Daniels. Not the retired Marina owner Daniels. His nephew, a calm, broad-shouldered guy with the patience of a saint and the expression of someone who had dealt with Karen since the dawn of time. He stepped out and I swear he sighed the moment he saw her. Karen rushed to him like she'd been waiting for divine intervention. Oh, thank goodness, she yelled dramatically. Oh, officer, arrest him. He's illegally blocking public property, threatening residents, and denying community rights. The HOA demands immediate action. I leaned against the gate, lifted my cup and said, Morning, Sheriff. He nodded. Oh, morning. What seems to be the issue? Karen shoved a thick stack of HOA papers at him. This is the issue. He's violating historical access. This Marina has always been for the community, and now he's locking the gate, removing people, destroying traditions, and acting like he owns the entire shoreline. The sheriff stared at her calmly. Karen, he does own it. Her whole body snapped toward him. No, he does not. The HOI, he said slowly, has no authority here. She blinked like he just spoke a language she'd never heard. No, that's not correct, she insisted. We have covenants and bylaws and shore access rights and community entitlements. Hake. And Karen, he interrupted. Those only apply to properties inside the HOI. He's not in the HOA. His land predates the HOA. He's exempt. She froze. A strange, unnatural silence fell over the entire dock. People nearby stopped breathing, even the wind paused. Finally, Karen's voice cracked. That's impossible. The sheriff pointed at me. Show her the deed. I held up the folder. The sheriff didn't even look at it. He already knew, but he handed it to Karen. She flipped through it, each page hitting her harder than the last. Then she shoved it back at me like it was proof of witchcraft. Yeah. Huh? This doesn't matter, she shouted. We've used this marina for years. Years. That makes it community access, the sheriff exhaled. Historical use doesn't override ownership. You need a recorded easement. Do you have one? She blinked again. A what? An easement. What is no, but everyone knows we use this shoreline. The sheriff crossed his arms. But did you or your HOA ever file a legal easement request? Karen stuttered. It wasn't necessary. We shouldn't have to. Then you don't have one, he said. And without it, you have no right to enter, no right to cut locks, no right to host events, no right to bring contractors, and no right to claim access. Karen's lip trembled like a kid about to cry. This is harassment, she whispered. This is discrimination. This is a violation of my community rights. You don't have any rights here, the sheriff said gently. And now stop bothering this man. Karen snapped. No, she screamed. You're wrong. You're all wrong. This marina belongs to Harbor of You. Always has, always will. Oh, always will. Karen, the sheriff said, if you or your HOA members step onto this dock again without permission, you will be trespassing. She froze again. Trespassing. Me? Yes, you. She shook her head violently, her sun hat trembling as much as her hands. You can't trespass on public land, she yelled. This isn't public, the sheriff said, and that was the moment Karen shuddered. She let out a scream so high-pitched a seagull flying overhead actually changed direction. This is not over, she shrieked, pointing at me, her finger quivering like it was powered by rage alone. You think you can just take away our access, our marina, our water rights, our traditions? I will get this back. I will. I shrugged. Good luck. She turned so fast her hat fell off, then marched towards HOA Road like a furious penguin. Sheriff Daniels shook his head and muttered, God give me strength before walking over to me. Sorry about her, he said. Ishi's been like this since the HOA was founded. Does she ever calm down? No, he said. Never. He pointed at the broken chain from earlier. She cut that? Or had someone cut it? I said. Take pictures, he advised. If it keeps happening, file a report. I nodded. Thanks, Sheriff. He left. Peace finally returned to the dock. But peace around Karen never lasts, because that night she came back. With people, with lights, with megaphones. I was in my office doing paperwork when I heard the screaming. I stepped outside and saw a crowd of maybe 20 HOA members gathered at my gate, chanting like a protest rally. Open the gate, stop the illegal locks, e-community rights, restore access, and at the center, standing on a plastic cooler like it was a political stage, Karen. She was holding a megaphone bigger than her head. He cannot deny US our water, she screamed. This is our marina. I walked up slowly. Evening, I said. Didn't you get yelled at enough today? She pointed the megaphone at me. Open the gate. No. The crowd booed like I'd kicked a puppy in front of them. Karen shook with rage again. You greedy, selfish, un-American. Karen, I said. Go home. I will not, she screamed. I am here for my community, and we will enter. How? I asked. You going to cut the lock again? The crowd murmured. Karen stiffened. No, she said slowly. This time, we have a key. Everyone gasped. I raised an eyebrow. A key? Really? Karen grinned like she had just won the Super Bowl. Yes, we made a copy. Your lock was poorly designed. She turned dramatically to the crowd. Hold. She jammed the key in the lock. It didn't turn. She tried again and again and again. The key snapped off inside the lock. The crowd gasped louder than before. Karen froze. Her eye twitched. I leaned forward. Karen, where exactly did you get that key? She whispered. I had a locksmith make it. I stared at her. You had a locksmith make a key to property you do not own, using a lock you do not have rights to, and now you jam the only entrance with broken metal. She blinked. It worked in my head. The crowd was silent, comically silent. One guy whispered, she cost us the marina, but another muttered, this is embarrassing. Someone else walked away quietly. Karen's face crumpled. Her grand revolt had failed, and the embarrassment was too much. She stomped her foot again. This isn't over. We will be back. And next time we will. I closed the gate in her face and walked away. Behind me, I heard her yell, don't you dare walk away from me. I am the HOA. I locked the office door and turned off the lights. Eventually, the shouting stopped. The crowd left, but I knew Karen, and I knew this wasn't the end. For 3 days, it was silent. No teens, no adults, no locks cut. The locks cut. No Karen, too silent. On the morning of the 4th day, I walked outside and saw something that froze me in place. Karen, standing beside a private boat ramp 2 houses down, with a bulldozer, an actual bulldozer. I walked over slowly. Oh, what the hell are you doing? She folded her arms. If you deny us access to your marina, we will build a new community marina. I blinked. You're going to bulldoze private shoreline? Yes, she said confidently. The HOA voted. So the HOA voted to commit a felony. She raised her chin. The HOA is above felonies. Oh dear God. You realize this is illegal? I asked. No, you realize you forced us to this, she said. You should have shared. But you're selfish and territorial and unfriendly and... A voice interrupted her. We both turned. Sheriff Daniels, looking exhausted. Again, he walked up, stared at the bulldozer, then stared at Karen. No, he said. Absolutely not. Karen puffed herself up. We are building community access. You are about to illegally destroy shoreline, he replied. You are done. Leave. Now, no, she repeated stubbornly. This is our community. We have rights. Karen, the sheriff said, you've officially crossed into criminal territory. She froze. Her entire body deflated. For once, she was speechless. The sheriff turned to me. You want to press charges? I thought about it. About the chaos, the yelling, the broken locks, the trespassers, the parties, the stolen key attempt, the bulldozer. Then I said, not yet. Karen gasped. Not yet, not yet. What does that mean? It means, I said, stay the hell away from my marina forever. You set 1 foot on my dock again, 1 guest, 1 friend, 1 party, 1 kayak, anyone you send, and I'll press every charge I legally can. Karen opened her mouth. I stepped closer, and trust me, I added quietly, I will win. She swallowed. The fight left her eyes. The bulldozer operator backed away slowly like he wanted no part of this anymore. After 30 long seconds, Karen finally whispered, fine. And for the first time since I moved in, she walked away quietly. No screaming, no megaphone, no threats, just silence. Silence. For the next 2 weeks, not a single HOA member touched my gate. The marina became peaceful, calm, mine again. And whenever I sip my coffee by the docks now, I think of Karen's first meltdown and her last stand. All it took to end her war was one truth she refused to accept. HOA rules don't stand a chance against actual law. And the day she realized that was the day she finally stayed off my property for good.